Welcome to The Well Drop, your home for owning your wellness. Each episode, we share drops of wellness wisdom and actionable tips to help elevate your everyday life.
You know, one of the philosophies that we have at Twiish is when you're using skincare and you're young, you can't necessarily dial it up, meaning what your daughter is going to use on her skin is not going to be what you use on your skin. But you could use what she's using because you could always dial down, especially if you've got skin that's like sensitive or super reactive or inflammatory. So it's easier to go down with your skincare products and use things that are more gentle, that fit your skin type again, rather than going the reverse and saying, I'm 10 years old and I need to use what my mom has. Plus, they don't want to use what we want. You know, They want to use what they want to use. They want something that's all their own.
Today, we're diving into the topic that's close to the heart of anyone with teens at home or anyone who cares about the impact of what we put on our skin. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Elise Tabin, founder of Twiish, a pioneering company dedicated to clean skincare. Elise has revolutionized the way we think about skincare, especially for teenagers, ensuring that products are not only effective, but also safe and sustainable. In today's episode, Elise will shed light on why clean skincare is crucial for teenagers, the common misconceptions around skincare products, and how parents and teens can make informed choices that benefit their skin and health long term. Elise will also share her journey of creating Twiish, how her passion for promoting wellness through clean ingredients, and her advice for young people navigating the complex world of beauty and skincare. Elise, welcome to The Well Drop. It's fantastic to have you here to explore the vital role of clean skincare in our lives, especially for the younger generation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you. You know, so many parents and teens are new to this concept of clean skincare. You know, Sephora is all the rage. If anyone has a teenager, most likely you're spending your weekends, and you don't even need a teenager, a tweener, in Sephora. So can you explain, what does clean skincare mean and why is it particularly important for teenagers?
So clean skincare has kind of become this like overarching catch-all phrase, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For some people, it means 100% organic. For other people, it means using clean preservatives that are made to a certain standard. For somebody else, it might be all natural ingredients. So there's a lot of different ways you can interpret what clean beauty really is to you. The reason why I think that there's been such a focus on it for the younger generations specifically is because when you're starting out with skincare and you're new to it, you don't want to put all these harsh chemicals and ingredients on your skin that your skin doesn't really need. When you're, 11, 12, 13, even 17, 18 years old, you still have all your collagen. You don't have sun damage. Okay, maybe some freckles, but that's a different story. They're cute. You don't have the same problems that somebody who is our age, who's had, a lifetime of sun and pollution and environmental exposure. They don't have those issues just yet. And the whole idea is to keep the skin as clean and healthy and preserved as possible so that as they grow older and their skin matures, as they go through the different phases of life, because your skin changes, as you get older, that there's minimal damage that is done to it. And by using the right ingredients that are also not like endocrine disruptors, you can put yourself on the path to healthy skin and lead it down what it needs so that as it evolves in the right way, as opposed to, some of the stuff that we did as kids that now it's like, oh, all the years spent sitting in the sun with baby oil on, I've had to spend thousands of dollars on lasers undoing all that damage. So it's this whole idea of let's teach them the right way to do skincare when they're young, but also the right ingredients, and that there's really no need to use products and ingredients that are known to be harmful and toxic.
I think you bring up a great point. Most people don't think about endocrine disruptors.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us, what are endocrine disruptors, and are they common in most, just skincare products that you may find in a typical beauty store?
So years ago, there was a lot of products that would have these endocrine disruptors, which can affect hormones within the body and can lead to problems like breast cancer, for example. Since we've had this push towards living a cleaner, greener, more eco-conscious lifestyle, just as a society as a whole, and there's been more emphasis on what we put into our body, both from our products to what we use in our homes and what we eat, that a lot of the products that are out there now are void of those endocrine disruptors, but it's still important to look for them and understand what they are. There's websites that you can go to that have like the whole entire list, because there's handfuls of them. There's
right, the
so
EWG,
many.
I love the environmental working
There's
group.
so many, but it's just important to educate yourself on what's out there. I always say, read the back of an ingredient label, because there might be something in there that you don't realize that's actually in there. You know, when we're watching TikTok and Instagrams and reading articles, for example, a lot of products get highlighted for their hero ingredients and what is the active ingredient that makes it work. But something as simple as an ingredient that's all the way on the bottom that could be a preservative could potentially be damaging or toxic or just have adverse effects, you know, even allergies. So I always say it's very important to read the ingredient list. And if you don't know what it is, you can Google it. You can always go onto a website for the company. A lot of times, like what we do on Twiish, is we have the ingredients all listed out in the ingredient label, so we don't just highlight one ingredient and then you're like, well, what's the rest of it? So it's really important to understand what's in your products and what you're putting on your skin.
I think most people, I always say, even when it comes to food, they've stopped reading the ingredients label. You know, they just are looking at like the calories and this and that, but they're not reading like the actual items in there. What are specific ingredients that parents should look out for when it comes to products for their kids' skincare and even for their own skincare?
Mm-hmm. So I think it really comes down to, first of all, understanding your skin type. That's what I always say, rule number one, because if you understand your skin type and what your skin needs, then you can almost like reverse engineer it and find products that contain ingredients that work for your skin type. So I'm going to use acne as an example. If you are a teenager, let's say you're 16 years old and you have breakouts, you're going to want to use products that contain ingredients that focus on clearing up the skin versus something that's really heavy in a moisturizer that may be a comedogenic ingredient that might clog the pores that could instigate more breakouts. Mm-hmm. So, for example, an acneic skin person is going to want to stay away from really heavy oils and butters. I'm personally not a fan of essential oils in products for younger skin. And there's just a lot of different ingredients that work for different skin types. So rule number one, always know your skin type, because then you can determine what you need. But there's a few ingredients that are like really big in, I guess, the social media world right now, if you will, that everyone's like all over. And I just don't think that they have any place, unless they're doctor recommended by a dermatologist, in a skincare routine for anybody who's under the age of really 25.
Ooh, what are those?
Retinol being the number one. Like, if you're using retinol and you are a tween or a teen, or even in college, you really don't need it. And the reason why is because you still have plump collagen. You don't start losing that 1% of collagen, which is like a teaspoon, I think, equivalent, in your skin until about age 25. So around that age, your mid-20s, you can start integrating some of those, retinol-type products into your skincare routine. But when you're younger, you don't need it. The only reason why I say if it's dermatologist recommended is if it's being prescribed for acne. That's the only reason why I would say that you could use it if you're younger. But if your skin is clear and plump and like glowy and breakout free, enjoy it, relish in that. That's what we all want, right? So you don't need that. You don't need harsh abrasives. You don't need super drying agents. There's a lot of ways that, thanks to technology and skincare now, that we can work on improving whatever a skin issue is without having to use some of those ancient ingredients and technologies that were used like 20, 30, 40 years ago. But, for the moms that are listening, I always say there's a couple of ingredients on the flip side that are always great to include. So you always want to have a sunscreen, obviously, a good hydrator, again, that works for your skin type. Like, I'm super oily and acne prone, so I like gel moisturizers and hyaluronic acid serums. Like, I can't use a super, super rich, thick cream. Again, you got to really understand your skin type and what works for it and what formulations work for it and what is just not a good fit. And, vitamin C is great for moms as well. Once you get over that like 25 hump and you start seeing
but you don't need vitamin C as a kid.
No.
Because that's a brightener.
No.
That's reversing some past damage that may have been.
Yeah, I mean, when you're younger, all you really need is a cleanser, a moisturizer, a spot treatment if you have breakouts,
right,
sunscreen, and, you know, if you want to play with like a sheet mask every once in a while, fine. But you don't really need anything.
Don't overcomplicate it.
No,
sort of
keep
the
it
way,
simple.
Exactly. Like I believe in my wellness routine in general, in any aspect of it. Like I just think simplicity wins. And because of marketing, we've been targeted so much stuff that everyone's just like adding all this garbage to their life. And they might be great ingredients, a great product, but like our body doesn't necessarily need them. That's just like stick with the basics. And once you just get that foundation set, then add on one or two things if need be,
right,
but don't just do like some 10-step routine just because. It kind of drives me crazy, and I feel bad. My daughter is 9, so I mean, even starting last year, the 7-year-olds, the 8-year-olds, the 9-year-olds, they're now being targeted on my daughter doesn't have social media, but her friends do, and they're doing all these self-care routines on their face and all these masks and stuff, and I had to say to her, I love the concept that you're learning about taking care of your skin from a young age. But the truth is, any of these products, your skin is perfect.
Right.
You don't need any of these. So let's try to find something that can make it feel fun and playful for the ritual part of it. So I got her a roller, a face roller. Like that is such an easy thing to just like start doing. So on that note though, like what is the proper age for someone to start with a skincare routine that Twiish is, sort of the perfect antidote for?
So when we made Twiish, and it came out of a need when my daughter, who's now 15 and is my co-founder, was, 4 years ago, this was the very beginning of COVID, was starting to break out. So she was around 11, 12 at the time. That's when the hormones start kicking in. Yeah. And that's when I say is really the time to start taking care of your skin. If they want to have a little bit of fun with it, like you were saying, and they want to use a face wash every single day, that's fine, because I look at it like you have skin on your face, you have skin on your body, you wash your body every single night, yeah, right? You wash your hair when it's dirty, so why would you neglect washing your face? Your face is exposed to everything. I mean, when they're in school and they're touching everything and putting it on their nose, their mouth, wiping their eyes, there's a lot of germs and bacteria that can accumulate over the day. So the face washing, I think, is a good idea to start. Super gentle cleanser is really all you need. And sunscreen, because we live in South Florida and really anybody would be like silly not to wear sunscreen.
I like that sunscreen. I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of younger kids feel like, oh, I don't want to wear sunscreen, but there's so many great formulations. You can do like a brush-on powder now. You don't have to do like the white, goopy, thick moisture, sunscreen that like looks like lotion. So there's a lot, even like a little moisturizer that has some sunscreen in it, just to get the skin protected. And then as they get a little bit older and the oil production starts to kick into overdrive, that's when you want to start really using gentle yet effective products that are made still for teen skin to help keep everything balanced. It's not about drying out the skin. It's not about leaving it red. And I think what we're seeing right now is this influx, like you were saying, of all the kids going to Sephora and buying all these products, and they're using products that are made for
strong.
Skin. Yeah, strong. They're made for like women who are like 50 years old.
Yes.
And then they have all these adverse effects to it because it's not formulated with younger skin in mind. So, one of the philosophies that we have at Twiish is when you're using skincare and you're young, you can't necessarily dial it up, meaning what your daughter is going to use on her skin is not going to be what you use on your skin, right?
100%.
But you could use what she's using because you could always dial down, especially if you've got skin that's like sensitive or super reactive or inflammatory. So it's easier to go down with your skincare products and use things that are more gentle, that fit your skin type again, rather than going the reverse and saying, I'm 10 years old and I need to use what my mom has. Plus, they don't want to use what we want. No. They want to use what they want to use. They want something that's all their own. I think just, keeping it simple and just really geared towards the needs of your skin at whatever phase of your life you're in. That's what it's all about.
I like that. So if you were saying for somebody is between 7 and 10 years old start with a cleanser and sunscreen. Do they even need a moisturizer?
You can put a little bit on just to kind of keep everything balanced, but their hydration levels at that age are
very high.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. They don't have the dry skin, crepiness, spine,
right.
None of that stuff yet.
Lucky.
Yeah.
So then when you head into sort of those tween and teen years and your skin starts breaking out, so now what is a sort of anti-acne product that is safe for, younger kids to use? Are there certain ingredients to look for to make sure that they do have it or don't have it? How would you kind of navigate the market in that sense?
So that is where our brand Twiish comes in. We created 2 products when we launched that are geared towards teen skin, but we like to say made for teen skin, loved by all. Because really everybody can use them. We have moms, dads, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. It's a cleanser and a spot treatment. And I always say the spot treatment is to be used as needed. So if you're not breaking out and you don't have blemishes or pimples, you don't need that. You don't need that. The cleanser is great for everybody because it is just a really nice gel cleanser. We use in our products Colloidal silver as one of our hero ingredients because it's healing, it's antibacterial, it's anti-inflammatory, it's a wound healing agent that's been used in hospitals.
Silver. I take
well, there you go.
Silver. But I never thought of it for actually in skincare. That's a first for me.
It's
That's
in
great.
skincare. Normally, you would see it in skincare made for more mature skin. There are some brands, especially overseas, that have it in acne products.
Interesting.
But I've always been a really big fan of silver. And when I was an editor for many, many years at NewBeauty magazine, my editor-in-chief and I had this one little puffy paint looking bottle of pure silver, and we would fight over it because it worked on everything.
Wow.
A pimple, a bug bite, a rash, razor burn, a red spot, whatever it was, we would be like, give me that silver. And I always said that if I was gonna come out with a line that I wanted to incorporate Colloidal silver into it because it just has so many great benefits and it's gentle. It's not an ingredient that is drying at all. So we paired that with encapsulated salicylic acid. So it's very gentle on the skin. And when you wash your face with the cleanser, Peachy Clean is the name of the cleanser. It's a clear gel. It foams up very nicely, but it also has glycerin and honey extract in it, so it also hydrates the skin. So you don't get that stripped, squeaky clean feeling, which you don't want your cleanser to make your skin feel squeaky clean. You just want it to feel
clean, because then
it feels stripped and dry. You just want it to feel clean and refreshed. So those are 2 ingredients that I really, really like for younger skin. They don't need, again, you don't need retinol, you don't need glycolics, you don't need all.
What about benzoyl peroxide?
Benzoyl peroxide we don't have in our products. There's been a lot of talk recently of this study that came out saying that benzoyl peroxide contains benzene, which can be cancer causing. And there was a laundry list of all these products that had it in it.
Not worth the risk.
I just have always thought that if you're going to go that way, there's other ingredients that you can use. So I chose not to formulate with it. Just my personal opinion.
Yeah. So I love things that were created out of a need. What was a need that you found with your daughter that inspired you to create Twiish?
So when she was breaking out and she couldn't find anything that she wanted to use that I felt comfortable with her using. She's also eczematic, so I had to be really careful about what I was putting into it because I didn't want to dry out her skin even further or cause, redness and flaky patches. So I was really conscious of the ingredients that we put in it. And I work with a Harvard-trained chemist, and everything is custom formulated. So this is not a formulation you will see in any other products. We didn't use anything off the shelf. And the biggest problem that we had was if I said to her, Madison, this is a great cleanser, you should really try it, she would snap back at me in 2 seconds and be like, ew, the packaging is ugly. I've seen that in your bathroom. It smells. I don't like how it feels. I mean, every feedback.
Typical teen.
Typical. Every feedback that you could possibly think of, she had. And then what she wanted to use, I had the reverse. I'm like, that's a $70 product. You don't need it. Just because Skin Care by Hiram says you mean it doesn't need that it's right for you. You don't need, you're breaking out and yes, you're eczematic, but you don't need a moisturizer that's made for wrinkles and mature skin. And she just had no idea because she's like, well, this guy that I follow on TikTok
He's
who has
using it.
100%. he's got a million people liking everything, so like, why should it not be okay for me? So we're kind of butting heads, and I'm like, I have got to figure this out. And I called every dermatologist that I know, every esthetician, every celebrity makeup artist, every buyer, and nobody had an answer for me other than buy organic. And I said, but that's not good enough. It could still be organic, and it still is going to have, you know, the same issues of being tailored to be too strong or ineffective for her skin type. And there really wasn't a good solution. And I thought back to the products that I grew up on, because I've always suffered from acne. And I was like, everything was just so abrasive and
so intense.
So, yes.
Did it work for you as a kid?
No. I mean, it would dry it out in the moment, but then, you know, then I'd be left with a red flaky patch or an area of discoloration because I would bleach out my skin because it was so strong and I was just causing more inflammation. Obviously, I had no idea what I was doing. And I was a big picker. I was a major pimple picker
picking.
too.
I love picking.
So, you know, I was
For those listening, your skin is flawless now. So whatever you've done post teen years is working.
It's been years of finding what works and understanding my skin type and figuring out what products and triggers are the ones that like make me break out, and learning how to pare things down.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, you know, trial and error until you find the formula.
And it's your face. I mean, it's kind of scary. I do have a lot of people I know that become very desperate when things, you know, over the counter aren't working for their kids, and they're ready to just like, the doctors actually suggest going on Accutane. Like, what would you say to those parents? Like, my suggestion would be, try this first and see if this can work, because maybe the products they were using were not the right fit given the child's age.
I say Accutane is your last ditch resort. Like, if there is nothing else that's working, even if you don't get 100% improvement, but you can get improvement enough where either you or your child feels comfortable and they feel like, okay, I don't have to, you know, pound on a face full of concealer every single day just to go to high school, and they feel a little bit more confident in their skin, then that's a step in the right direction. There are some kids and even adults that their acne is cystic and it's nodular, and the only thing that is going to work for it will be Accutane. Right. And a lot of times that is where they end up because they feel like they have tried everything. But sometimes it's just making tweaks. Like, I cut out dairy.
Yeah, the food.
And I saw a huge improvement just from cutting out cheese, which is like my weakness. I mean, I could eat a pound of cheese right here. But things like that can make a difference. So when you kind of compound all the effects and you have the right products and you're taking care of your skin. And the other thing I want to point out is skincare at home is important, but don't discount the importance of going to a dermatologist or esthetician too, and getting a professional facial and an extraction done the right way, you know, because it goes hand in hand. The at home with the professional care, you need to do both.
I love that you just suggested that, because I do find, I grew up, my mother was very good. Like, the one thing she always did was get facials, and I feel like she really instilled that in me. So even in my 20s, I was only one of my friends that I always religiously would get a facial. But I find a lot of the dermatologists, especially for adults our age, poo-poo the professional facial, even if they have it within their office and they're trying to really push the lasers on them.
Right.
So I'm worried for that next generation, that because the adults are not being told the importance of getting their own facials, that you're not then going to give that advice to your own child. But I think that it is such a key thing of like working in tandem, because I didn't have any acne or breakouts when I was a kid, and I must say that it maybe was from that. I mean, I did always eat pretty clean because I got Crohn's at a young age, so I had to really like change my whole diet at 14, so maybe all the timing kind of worked out. But I always got facials, and God only knows what kind of products I use. They probably were definitely a little too harsh for my skin.
Probably like the rest of us. Noxzema, the apricot scrub from St. Ives.
I love the St. Ives.
Sea Breeze. That's
all there was.
Well, that was a thing. Like, we were so limited. And you really only went to the dermatologist
if you had a big problem.
Right. If you had acne and you really needed something to help with it. It wasn't like now. I didn't grow up getting facials. I take my daughter to get a facial probably like every 8 to 10 weeks. Just because I feel like she's not a picker like I was, but I'm like, I don't want her to go down that route of being tempted because she sees something. So I'm like, our esthetician is Cheryl up in Boca, and I've been seeing her for like 15 years. And I'm like, let's go see Cheryl. And she helped her also understand the importance of taking care of her skin and getting onto a routine, because she wasn't doing anything in the beginning. She wasn't even like washing her face.
Yeah.
And then I said to her, if you don't wash your face and start to establish some type of routine, you're never gonna have your skin be what you want it to be. You have to do some of the work. It's not just, unless if you're genetically blessed, there are those out there.
Yeah, but everything good usually takes work. I think that's really good advice for moms out there. I just started to show my daughter, just not even that long ago, like, use a washcloth in the shower, like, clean your face to, like, rub off the debris. And then my next stage is going to be, actually this summer I was going to get her a cleanser to bring to camp. And now I'll add this sunscreen. I wasn't thinking about the daily sunscreen for her. But I think it's an important message for moms that, start before the problems happen, like maybe right as they're becoming a teenager, and meet an esthetician that they connect with, because they may not want to hear the advice, like you said,
100%.
from the mom, and then maybe they'll listen to someone else who's really caring for their skin, and you start building up that relationship, and you go every few months. You don't need to go monthly at that age, even if it's once a quarter, and let them get to know each other, so that when the problems do start to come in, you're already you've got your support in place, and then the products and stuff like that, you add on to that. And so I just think it creates like this ecosystem that becomes a more positive experience rather than the fear, because I think every girl is very scared about, one, getting their period, gonna get the breakouts, it's from the movies. I mean, these are the conversations all these girls are having, but to maybe remove that sense of fear, knowing like, all right, this woman or man, they got my back.
100%. I think it's good to have like a third party,
yes,
outside source that can guide them and tell them, this is what to expect. This is why you might be getting pimples around your period, and this is why you have blackheads, just so they don't feel like, why is this only happening to me? Because I think that's a lot of the fear is like, I go to school, everybody around me, I look on Instagram, everybody around me has like this like perfect skin and they're like flawless, and then I don't. So why me? When it's really something that can happen to it happens to us all.
Yeah. No,
so
100%.
Understanding that, is really important. And there's also something to be said that if they do enjoy skincare, it can be like this self-care ritual, and they can have fun with it as long as they're being smart and safe with it.
Yeah.
But it can be a lot of fun. They can make like sleepover skincare parties out of it, and they can find that time where it's like, this is the time in my day where I have 5 minutes at night where I close the door and I turn on my music and I put on my cute little like fluffy headband and I have my products, and I just feel like I'm in like my zone and nobody's going to bother me, and I'm doing something that's like relaxing, but it also is good for me.
100%.
So that's a good thing too.
And that it's the right products for them too. Like
100%.
It's actually going to do something that's beneficial. Besides being better for the skin, are clean skincare products, are they more environmentally friendly as well? Or is that a separate?
They can be. Some are, some aren't. Some are made with all eco-conscious ingredients or packaging, or do programs like 1% to the planet. There's so many different ways that a product can be classified as being clean now. The idea behind it is really what everybody interprets as their own version of clean, because there is no standard definition, and it's not regulated at all by the FDA. So they can't come in where they can with like a drug and say this is not qualified as a drug or a medication, where clean skincare is really whatever you want it to be.
I think that's what's so confusing for most people, of it's like this greenwashing thing.
Yes.
Like, what does this mean? Does it even matter? Do we even need to pay attention to it because it is this kind of unregulated place? Like, I guess I would say the most important things is more on the ingredient side as a starting point.
Yes.
Especially for the younger
skin.
skin.
The ingredients are really important to understand. There's always been these debates whether, for example, is fragrance bad? Is fragrance good? I just wrote a story about this for InStyle last week. And it really comes down to, if your skin can tolerate it, it's not necessarily bad. If you're somebody who's reactive to it or it makes you sick, okay, go without it. But just because you choose to go with a product that is natural doesn't mean it's necessarily better for you, because a lot of the natural ingredients have fragrances, they have scents, and it could be labeled as natural and it could still have the same, ramifications as an artificial fragrance. Yeah. So it's really like a blurred line with the whole clean. And a lot of brands have actually gone away from it, where they're like,
we just want to be,
yes, it's new. It's like, we want to be conscious of our ingredients. We want to make sure that we're not using the endocrine disruptors.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that our preservatives, because you have to have preservatives in your products, otherwise, bacteria, mold, fungus, all that grows. But they want to make sure that what they're using is safe. So I think it's more about like the safety protocols right now than it is technically like clean.
I definitely agree with that. What would one drop of wellness wisdom be that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Oh, one. I have to only pick one?
No, you can give three. You can give three if you have them.
I think you always, when it comes to wellness, I say you do what works for you. If you're somebody who wants to have a super involved routine, and that consists of, meditating and working out and eating right and green juices and whatever it is, if that makes you feel good, if your body responds positively to that and you enjoy it, and that like gives you a feeling of, this is something positive for me, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, do it. If it's not something that brings you joy and it's not something that you feel like benefits you, don't go along with a trend just because everybody else is doing it. Like I remember when everyone was into soul cycling, and I'm like, I hate this. I hate this. You cannot pay me to get into a spin class. Still to this day, I will not do it.
I love
you. Well, see, you love it, and I don't like it. So everyone has what works for them, and you got to just find really like what is your passion that makes you feel good, that you feel positive about, that you see results from, that makes you have like a peaceful moment, whatever that is. So I always say, do what works for you.
I love what you said, and I think that's such a good message for all the mothers out there and for their kids, of just like find what brings you joy and like don't listen to the noise, and just like lean into you, and you do you.
You do you.
You do you.
You do you.
It was great. Well, we will put your website in the show notes. Definitely check out Twiish. We are going to be doing some tests on some of our teenage friends, and we'll be reporting back as well. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Well Drop. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.